me get some money quick. Come on, son. Tell me, you got my name.
Welcome to the Daily Agenda. Rob and Sob on the run, is it? Well, apparently, seemingly, at least. But perhaps best not to speculate too much, although it doesn't look very good, does it? After an alleged assault, fleeing the country in the early hours of the morning. Of course, that looks guilty, really guilty. Looks like he's done a runner because he's afraid of the consequences, afraid of being arrested and interviewed by the police. And one would think that he would be in breach of his license conditions on release from prison. But in truth, the real point of this video is the mass of speculation already all over social media about this incident, and yet no one in the public domain has actually seen the entire video of the incident at St Pancras last night at approximately 8:40 p.m. But everyone seems to know the truth. Well, how do they know the truth? Well, because they're fanboys, you know, worshippers. Those who hate him, obviously, are condemning him. Some are even saying he should be locked up forever and never released again. Well, that's a bit strong, isn't it? Very strong. But that's ideological motivation. And then you've got the hero worship, the fanboy motivation of, oh no, Tommy knocked this guy out. It was totally justified. And I've seen hundreds of people today on X alone say he got what he deserved. Well, how do they know he got what he deserved? Because they've not seen the entire footage. They weren't present at the incident. But of course, it all depends on preference. So I'm trying to be as impartial as possible here. And I would say, don't speculate on the incident. Let's wait until all of the footage is available, if it ever does become available. So I'm not going to say he needs to be thrown in prison and indefinitely, because I don't believe anyone in a situation of this nature does deserve that, and nor does the law, in actual fact. And for those who say, oh, this is just another lawfare stunt, well, is it? Because at the end of the day, two chaps could be walking along there and they have a disagreement, and one swings and knocks the other one out. He goes face down on the floor, cracks his head, there's blood everywhere. And how would that be lawfare? Because at the end of the day, it's covered by the Offences Against the Persons Act. From what we're seeing here, the police cordon, obviously, and the forensic team there, scenes of crimes officers, it seems to be a very serious assault. And the victim, for want of a better description, the man lying face down on the floor, that is, we presume is the victim, whatever the truth of the matter. That's what we're being told. And well, one would argue that it's GBH Section 20. Certainly not Section 18. I don't think there's any malicious wounding with intent there. Although, who knows, I'm not a Crown Prosecutor. I don't make the decisions on these matters. But if I did make such decisions, I'd certainly be looking at the upper end of ABH or GBH Section 20. And so, quite simply, there's this thing called excessive force. And it's something I know about very intimately, in actual fact, because in November 2002, a man in Nottingham, who I won't name, threatened me with a blade, and I had to use force to stop him. It was 11 o'clock at night, November, freezing cold, pitch black, no witnesses, no CCTV, and I was up against a car and he was literally 3 yards away, and I had to make a split-second decision to knock him down and put him down. And even after I put him down, he started grabbing for the knife again, so I knocked him out cold and left him there on the floor in a pool of blood and with quite serious injuries. And when it eventually came to court, Judge Michael Stokes accepted my plea of guilty, and also the fact that in plea mitigation, I said, you know, this chap had threatened to stab me, had a vegetable knife in his hand, he'd been provoking and abusing me for weeks, in actual fact, prior to the incident, and I received a 12 months conditional discharge and a £280 fine, which I paid. And in all honesty, did I use excessive force? I probably did. Yes, I probably did, but you must remember that self-defence is not an exact science, and scores of police officers have convictions for assault for using excessive force. Let that point sink in. And so if Tommy has defended himself, then, you know, what we're looking at here, if it is true what people are saying, and I'm not saying it's untrue or true, you know, that this man attacked Tommy first, well, they don't know because nobody's seen the footage, and I don't know because I haven't seen the footage either. But the simple truth of the matter is, if he was attacked first, then he has every right to, you know, to defend himself. And if he put the guy down and he cracked his head on the floor, then that's unintentional. But obviously, it's causal. It's a causal link. And so you're basically looking at an excessive force issue, quite frankly, in exactly the same way as I had in the courts. And, you know, there's no point lying about it. I'm not selling anybody a sob story saying, oh, it's lawfare, I was stitched up. You know, I didn't claim any of those things. I simply say that I used force to defend myself because I thought my life was in danger. I don't regret it. I've never apologised for it. I'm never going to apologise for it. And Judge Michael Stokes accepted that at Nottingham Crown Court and gave me a non-custodial sentence. And in my view, I think I was treated very fairly by His Lordship, Michael Stokes. So, look, with Tommy, it all depends what's happened. Nobody knows what's happened, but there's all this massive speculation about it. He's innocent, it's a stitch-up, it's a set-up. And I've even heard people saying, oh, it's the left, they've stitched him up to stop the free speech grifting rally, because that's all it is. They've set him up to stop the free speech rally going ahead in September. Well, that's nonsense, because it will go ahead whether it is there or not. We saw that last October, didn't we? You know, and so that in itself is just absolute nonsense, because the left are not stupid enough to think that they could set Tommy up in a manner such as this and stop the free speech festival going ahead, because it will go ahead anyway. We all know this, so that's nonsense. It may well just have been that he was walking through St Pancras railway station, somebody recognised him of a different political opinion and gave him some verbal, and Tommy cracked him and knocked him out, which is what a lot of people are saying. But again, nobody knows that for certain. It could be that the guy assaulted him. It could be that, you know, Tommy just took offence to something that he said and cracked him, because we know how short-tempered he is. And I know it's not pleasant being abused, but let's be honest. I mean, Tom and his fanboys are extremely abusive people, particularly his fanboys, I know from experience. And they love making threats. It's their forte. And brainless abuse. They plaster it all over social media with wanton abandon. So all I would say is this, you know, if Tommy was entering a self-defence plea, then he'd have stayed at the scene and got the matter cleared up and gone before due process. But he ran, didn't he? He ran abroad. In the early hours of the morning, which looks even shadier, you know, the fact that he did it so quickly after the incident. I mean, we're talking a number of hours. He had to get back to Bedfordshire, where he lived, on the train and then the taxi or whatever. Somebody picked him up at the train station, whatever, I don't know. And then he's on the blower to his contacts abroad, and they're saying, yes, absolutely, Yaks, come over here. And then he's on a plane, quick sharp, booked like lightning, using his Irish passport. That's a very important point to make, isn't it? The Irish passport comes in very useful in situations like this, and I would argue that was the only reason why he got that Irish passport. So he could do a runner in situations like this. Because technically speaking, with an Irish passport, he's not actually a British citizen, he's a citizen of the Republic of Ireland, or ERA. So is Tommy English or Irish? Well, on paper, he's actually Irish, isn't he? Not English. And yet you've got all these clowns flying the England flag at a man who carries an Irish passport, who's now on the run. I accept the fact that he's on the run. And will he come back? Well, I've no doubt he will come back. There's also the fact that, you know, wherever he's gone to, it will be a criminal offence there also, so he can be arrested and brought back and can be extradited. Would he really want the embarrassment of that? It'd be far better to just hand himself in, but then that begs the question, why he did a runner in the first place? Well, people do panic. People do panic. You know, it may well have been an instantaneous, spontaneous thing, and that he used more force than what he intended to do, and afterwards, when he thought about it, he may well have gone into a state of, oh my goodness, you know, what have I done? I didn't intend to do that. You know, and I'm going to get stitched up, etc., blah, blah. This is how his mind's taking over, and so therefore he did a runner. And there might not be anything even malicious in it, but what I would say is that it's time he surrendered the Irish passport and had a British passport, isn't he? If he wants to claim to be an British English citizen. But no, he still uses this Irish passport. And so I would say this, you know, we don't need to speculate about the passport issue, but stop speculating about what happened and people posting rubbish all over social media as though they know exactly what happened. It's completely unacceptable, you know, and they're so arrogant and dumb with it, and they actually believe their own fiction. And all I've seen thus far today on X in particular is fiction about this alleged assault. And so I would say best to wait, because a live investigation is in place, until that investigation has concluded, and see if Tommy has got any criminal charge to face. And we'll see in due course when he either surrenders or the police arrest him and bring him back here. It's entirely up to Tommy, isn't it? You know, I accept the fact that there's such a thing as panic in the heat of the moment, which produces a situation like this, and that he felt the need to leave quickly. But the longer he stays away, the harder it'll be for him, because the harder it will be to actually come back, you know. And in the interim, of course, what we're going to have, as usual, is the litany of speculation and the deluded hero worship of, it's all poor Tommy, it's all poor Tommy, he did nothing wrong, he was stitched up, you see. So in actual fact, what his dumb fanboys are trying to do is acquit him in the public domain, even before any form of investigation has taken place in full, or he stood trial, if he has to stand trial. You know, I'm not going to do either of those things. I'm simply going to put it on the spot by saying that nobody knows really what happened unless they've got access to the full CCTV footage. And there's another interesting point, is that we've only seen a snippet of that footage, haven't we? Why is that, I wonder?